Hello students, welcome to Smile with English, and today we are going to learn the second part of the story of first flight, that is the Black Aeroplane. And the writer of the story is Frederick Forsyth, and today I will explain the story to you and also tell you the meanings. And before I start the chapter, do subscribe my channel, like and share my video. Okay, so let's now start. So before beginning the chapter, I will just tell you the summary of the story. So it was a clear, starry night with a bright moon coming up in the east, and the author was flying his old Dakota aeroplane over France, and he was on his way back home to England, and he was thinking that he will enjoy his holidays with his family. But when he reached 150 kilometers away from Paris, he saw a very huge and black ominous cloud away ahead of him. So he was totally shattered because everything changed suddenly and he was unable to see anything. Even his radio was also dead and his compass was also not working. Suddenly he saw a black aeroplane was flying next to his Dakota, and the pilot of the plane only showed him the way and he signaled him to follow, and like an obedient child he followed the plane also. And then what happens that the black suddenly when he is already there in the runway and he reaches his destination, that time what happens, the black aeroplane suddenly disappears. So safely he is there landed, and he walks to the control room and he asks the lady that he wanted to thank the pilot who has shown him the way. But the lady says that today there was no other plane spotted along on the radar. So the identity of the divine guide who had rescued him always remained a mystery for the authors. This is the story. So now let's read the story from the book. The Black Aeroplane. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So here we see that it was about to be evening. It is dusk time now, and the stars were shining in the sky, and there wasn't any cloud. The weather was very nice, and the narrator was very happy because he was alone in the sky and he could see the sleeping countryside also. So he was flying his Dakota aeroplane. So it's a kind of aeroplane from France. He is going back to England, and he was dreaming about his holiday and he was looking forward of being with his family. So when he looked at his watch, it was about 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris Control soon, I thought, as I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane. I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris Control, Dakota DS088 here. Can you hear me? I am on my way to England, over. So now the narrator thought that now I should call the Paris Control room because he could see the lights of the city in front of him. So he switched on his radio and he just called in Paris Control room. This is the way how they communicate in a helicopter or in aeroplane. They communicate like this. So now he says, Paris Control, Dakota DS088 here. Can you hear me? I am on the way to England, over. So this is a way of communication. Then the voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS088, over. So now from the other side of the radio, there was a voice that gave him the direction that he should turn towards the west, 12 degrees west. Okay, so according to the instructions, he also did the same. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. So now he turned his aeroplane 12 degrees west towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought, a good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. So he was just thinking that it is time to be breakfast when I reached there in England, and he was thinking about the very big English breakfast. So everything was also going very well, and he was thinking that his flight was an easy one, comfortable one. So Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. So now he thought that Paris was about 150 kilometers behind, and now when he saw the clouds, they were very storm clouds, which were just compared to black mountains, okay, which was standing in front of him across the sky. And he knew that he couldn't fly up the sky, okay, so there was cloud here, so he couldn't fly the aeroplane up also, neither he could come down, or neither he could go around the cloud from the north or from the south. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast, so he was just eager to go to Paris again, and he just wanted to go home and have the breakfast. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. So he just thought of taking the risk, and he flew his old Dakota plane straight into the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe. So now inside the clouds it went. So everything was just black, and it was very impossible for him to see what was happening outside the aeroplane. So the old aeroplane just jumped and twisted in the air. So he was just losing control of the aeroplane. So then he looked at the compass, and he couldn't believe. What he couldn't believe? So now he tells he couldn't believe his eyes. The compass was turning round and round. It was dead. So the compass was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. So now he tried the other instruments also, and even the radio was dead. Paris control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. So he was just lost in the storm, and all his equipments were not working at all. Then in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. So when he was just here in this misery, what happened? He could see another aeroplane also, and it had no lights on its wings, but the narrator could see it flying just next to him through the storm, and he could see the pilot's face also, which was just turning towards him, and he was very happy to see another person. And even that pilot lifted one hand and waved to him. Follow me, he was saying, follow me. So that pilot tell him to follow him. So he follows that. I am lost. He knows that I am lost, I thought. So he's trying to help me. So he now understood that this pilot is just going to help me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota, so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. So why obedient? Because as an obedient child always listens to his parents, like that only he's listening to the pilot. So the pilot tells the Dakota plane's pilot to follow him, and he is obediently following the instructions given by the pilot of the black aeroplane. Okay, so after half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. So after half an hour also, that strange black aeroplane was in front of him, and he was just following that aeroplane. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down, and I followed through the storm. So now the narrator is saying that there was only now enough fuel on the old Dakotas, and I could fly only for 5 or 10 minutes more. So he was really feeling very afraid again. So then he again followed the black aeroplane through the storm. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me. So like this, two parallel lines along with some lights. So what is it? It was a runway, an airport. So I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. So now as he reached there on the runway, the airport, so now he was safe now, and he was just looking for his friend. Who was the friend? The pilot of the black aeroplane. But the sky was empty. Nobody was there. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. So the black aeroplane was gone and I couldn't see it anywhere. So I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked the woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. So just he landed and he just wanted to go to the control tower, and there one lady was sitting, and there to that lady he just asked that who was the pilot in the black aeroplane, because he wanted to thank that man. So now what happened, that lady was just surprised. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed, and then she started laughing. Another aeroplane up there in the storm. No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So here the lady is saying what? Another aeroplane. There was no other aeroplane because due to the storm all the flights were cancelled. So only your flight was there today. You were only flying tonight and no other aeroplane because I couldn't see on the radar. So radar is the name of an instrument which is used to detect aeroplanes or helicopters on the sky. Okay, so she's saying what? That I couldn't see any other aeroplane or any thing in the sky. I could see only you and I could see only the aeroplane of yours. So who helped me to arrive there safely without compass or a radio and without any more fuel in any tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? So now this narrator is saying what? Then who was there who had just safely who arrived there safely without any compass or radio, and without whom I also followed that aeroplane. I came here safely. I landed over here also. And who was the pilot of that strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? So here the story ends. So this is a question which has been asked because it is unknown. Who was the pilot? That is unknown. So maybe we can say that it was an illusion, or maybe that it was someone, a savior who saved the life of the narrator. Okay, so like this is the story. We end here. So children, finally, what is the message that we get from the story? Get to know about the story. So the story conveys the message that courage is guided by faith, and the pilot of the Dakota plane was as experienced flyer, but he panicked when he got engulfed by the black storm, isn't it? So still he kept on trying to reach the safety with the help of the guiding instruments in his plane. When all the instruments too got jammed, he suddenly found a mysterious black plane that guided him. So it was perhaps the pilot's courage that gave him faith, and he managed to find his way out of the storm. So faith is very important to guide courage in the proper direction. The story also gives the message that one must never give up in the face of adverse times, and difficulty should be taken by the horns, and hope should not be abandoned. Hope you have understood the story. So if you like the video, do subscribe my channel and like and share my video.